The most expensive mistake you can make with Social Security is waiting. Yeah, I know. That sounds backwards. Every financial advisor, every government brochure, every retirement expert on the internet is basically screaming the same thing. Delay until 70. Max it out. Bigger check. And on paper, they're not wrong. But here's the problem: they're solving the wrong equation. Because while they're obsessing over maximizing the monthly payment, they're quietly ignoring how much money you might never collect at all. Go scroll through Reddit, talk to retirees, ask people who've actually gone through this. You'll start seeing the same pattern. People waiting, and sometimes never really getting what they waited for. It's like standing in line for the biggest meal at a restaurant and never making it to the table. Classic. Hey, I'm Brian, and I spend way too much time thinking about one specific question. How do you actually get the most money out of your life, not just on paper, but in reality? And today, we're breaking down something that almost nobody explains properly. 7 surprisingly logical and sometimes superior reasons to file for Social Security at age 62. Not because it's always right, but because the math is a lot more complicated than anyone's telling you. I've built out dozens of break-even models, run different life expectancy scenarios, stress-tested tax outcomes, and what I found is this. The obvious answer stops being obvious the second real life shows up. If you get value out of thinking this way, subscribe. Not as a favor to me, but as a form of peer review. Because the more people that challenge these ideas, the sharper they get. So here's the simplest way to understand Social Security. Think of it like a faucet. Every year you delay turning it on, the pressure builds. Your monthly check gets bigger, stronger, more powerful. Wait until 67, more pressure. Wait until 70, even more. But here's what nobody emphasizes. While you're waiting, the faucet is off. No water is flowing. And worse, some of that water? It doesn't just sit there waiting for you. It evaporates. Every month you delay is a month of payments you will never get back. So the entire decision comes down to this trade-off. Do you want a stronger flow later? Or do you want more total water over time? Because those are not the same thing. And once you see Social Security through that lens as a timing problem, not just a maximizing problem, the wait until 70 advice starts to look a lot less bulletproof. So let's make this real. Meet Professor Marcus. He's 62, earns about $90,000 a year, spent decades teaching, saving consistently, doing everything right. Now, he's staring at the exact decision everyone argues about. When do you turn the faucet on? Here are his actual options. At age 62, about $2,238 per month. At age 67, about $3,198 per month. At age 70, about $3,966 per month. Now, the standard advice says, wait. Because if Marcus delays from 62 to 70, his monthly income increases by roughly 77%. That's a massive jump. And when you run the classic break-even analysis, it looks clean. If Marcus lives into his early 80s, somewhere around 80 to 82, the wait until 70 strategy starts to pull ahead in total dollars collected. So the conclusion seems obvious. Live long enough, win big. But this is where it gets really interesting. That entire calculation assumes 3 things that almost never hold in real life. First, it assumes Marcus knows how long he's going to live. He doesn't. Second, it assumes he doesn't need or benefit from the money in his 60s. That's rarely true. And third, and this is the big one, it assumes that money received earlier and money received later are equally valuable. They're not. Because turning the faucet on earlier doesn't just give you water. It gives you options. And once you factor in flexibility, taxes, health, market conditions, all the messy variables that don't fit neatly into a spreadsheet, the optimal answer starts to shift fast. If you're new here and just subscribed, comment your name below. I read every comment and shout out new subscribers in my next video. I do appreciate you joining me on this finance journey. Reason 1: health is the ultimate variable. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The entire delay until 70 strategy is built on one assumption: that you'll live long enough to benefit from it. Mechanism. The longer you live, the more valuable those higher monthly checks become. But if your lifespan is shorter than average, the math flips hard in the other direction. Now imagine Marcus has a family history where most men don't make it past 75. Or maybe he has early warning signs, nothing catastrophic, but enough to introduce doubt. If he waits, he's betting on years he may never see. If he files at 62, he locks in nearly 8 years of payments. That's over $200,000 collected before the optimal strategy even starts paying off. Call back to the faucet. Pressure is great, unless the pipe shuts off early. Punchline. You don't optimize for a life you might not have. Reason 2. The go-go years problem. Not all retirement years are created equal. Mechanism. Your early retirement years, your 60s, are when you're healthiest, most mobile, most capable of actually using money for meaningful experiences. Travel, hobbies, time with family, these are front-loaded. Now imagine Marcus at 62 versus 75. At 62, that $2,238 per month might fund trips, experiences, memories. At 75, that extra income might go toward healthcare, maintenance, or simply sitting unused. Call back. What's the point of higher water pressure if you can't step into the shower? Punchline. Money is more valuable when your body can still keep up with your plans. Reason 3. Spousal timing advantage. Now, let's add a spouse into the equation. Mechanism. Filing early can unlock spousal benefits sooner, especially if one partner has a lower earnings record. Imagine Marcus is married to Elena, who has a smaller Social Security benefit. If Marcus files at 62, Elena can potentially begin claiming spousal benefits earlier, creating a combined household income stream years ahead of schedule. That's not just about total dollars, it's about timing and coordination. Callback. 2 faucets turned on earlier can sometimes outperform 1 high-pressure faucet later. Punchline. Retirement isn't an individual sport, it's a coordinated system. Reason 4. The survivor benefit strategy, most overlooked. This one almost nobody talks about, and it's one of the most powerful. Mechanism. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse keeps the higher of the 2 Social Security benefits. Now imagine, Marcus has a significantly higher benefit than Elena, but Marcus has health issues. If Marcus delays filing and passes away early, there's a window of years where neither of them collected what they could have. But if Marcus files at 62, he starts collecting immediately, potentially adding hundreds of thousands of dollars into the household before anything happens. And when he passes, Elena steps up into his benefit anyway. Call back. You don't just care about the strength of the faucet, you care about how long it's actually running for the household. Punchline. Sometimes the goal isn't maximizing one life, it's maximizing 2. Reason 5. Market risk hedge. Let's zoom out. Mechanism. Social Security is one of the only income streams in your life that is guaranteed, inflation-adjusted, and not tied to market volatility. Now, imagine Marcus retires into a market downturn. His portfolio drops 20%. Withdrawals become dangerous. Sequence of returns risk kicks in. But if he turned on Social Security at 62, that's over $26,000 per year of stable income he doesn't have to pull from investments. Call back. The faucet isn't just water, it's a backup supply when the main system fails. Punchline. Sometimes taking less monthly income buys you more financial stability. Reason 6. Tax strategy and the tax torpedo. This is where things get technical and expensive. Mechanism. Social Security, required minimum distributions, and other income streams interact in ways that can spike your effective tax rate in retirement. If Marcus delays Social Security until 70, but then starts required minimum distributions at 73, he could end up stacking income on top of income, pushing himself into higher tax brackets. But if he files early at 62, he spreads income across more years, potentially reducing total lifetime taxes. Call back. Turning the faucet on earlier can prevent a flood later. Punchline. It's not just about how much you get, it's about how much you keep. Reason 7. You actually need the money. This one is the least talked about and the most real. Mechanism. Not everyone has the luxury of waiting. Maybe Marcus was laid off. Maybe his savings took a hit. Maybe supporting family became more expensive than expected. In theory, delaying maximizes long-term value. In reality, cash flow matters now. And here's the key point. There is no penalty for using Social Security the way it was designed as income support. Callback. A faucet that stays off while you're thirsty isn't a strategy. Punchline. The optimal plan that ignores reality isn't optimal at all. And by the way, if this is the kind of thinking that makes you question conventional advice, hit subscribe. Not because I'm always right, but because these decisions are too important to accept surface-level answers. Let me show you how this actually plays out in the real world. Meet Sophia. She's 62, recently retired, and her husband Daniel is 68 with a significantly higher Social Security benefit, about $3,400 per month if he claims. But Daniel's health is declining, not immediately terminal, but serious enough that their timeline isn't theoretical anymore. Now here's the decision Sophia faces. Option 1. Follow conventional advice. Delay her own benefit. Wait. Maximize later. Option 2. File at 62. Start the faucet now. She chooses to file. So she begins collecting about $1,870 per month. Over the next 8 years before Daniel passes, that adds up to roughly $179,520 in total benefits she would have otherwise left on the table. Then Daniel passes, and Sophia steps up into his larger benefit, that $3,400 per month survivor benefit. So what just happened? By filing early, she didn't reduce her long-term outcome. She increased total household income during the exact years it mattered most. If she had waited, that entire $179,000, gone, evaporated. Call back to the metaphor. The faucet was available. She just turned it on. Now, to be completely fair, there are situations where waiting until 70 is absolutely the right move. If you're in excellent health, have a strong family history of longevity, and you don't need the income, delaying can produce significantly higher lifetime benefits. In some cases, we're talking about a difference of $246,000 or more over a long retirement. And if you're single, with no spousal coordination variables, and you expect to live into your 90s, that higher pressure faucet can absolutely win. The key is this. You have to actually live long enough to collect it. There's also something subtle happening behind the scenes. Most financial advisors get paid based on assets under management. So, if you delay Social Security, you're more likely to withdraw from your investment portfolio instead, which keeps more money under their management for longer. I'm not saying that's corrupt. I'm saying that's an incentive. And incentives shape advice whether we acknowledge them or not. So if you take nothing else from this, take these 3. 1. Run sensitivity scenarios. Don't just assume you'll live to 90. Model what happens if you live to 75, 80, 85. Watch how quickly the optimal strategy changes. 2. Coordinate. Don't isolate. If you're married, this is not your decision alone. Look at spousal benefits, survivor benefits, timing gaps. The system only makes sense when you view it as a unit. 3. Revisit the plan when life changes. Health shifts. Markets crash. Family dynamics evolve. The best strategy today might be the wrong one 5 years from now. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about maximizing a number on a spreadsheet. It's about turning the faucet on at the right time, before too much of the water disappears.